This handsome boy is called Tom. Tom has a condition called epulis, which are benign tumours on his gums. This is a common boxer condition. They currently measure about 1 cm on the right side of his mouth, and there are 2 to 3 adjoining on the left side, which measure about 2 cm in total. They don't seem to cause him any pain, but he can't eat meaty bones anymore. And sometimes when he plays with his ball, he will drop it because the tumours have bled on it. Tom also has a grade 2 to 3 heart murmur, which is another common condition that boxers can suffer from. The vets have advised to leave the epulis until they cause him pain, and in that case, he will need surgery. Tom is 6 years old. When I began working with Tom, there was another dog also in the room, and Tom seemed to prefer to spend his time barking, looking out the window, opposed to working with us. It was only when the correct oil was selected that we got his attention. I'm working with Tracey via Zoom, and I've offered Tom classic remedies that help inhibit tumours such as lemon and lime, and also bergamot, because bergamot is excellent for tumours and heart murmurs. He did actually work a little bit with the bergamot, and he took a small amount of lemon, but they didn't really sustain his interest, and he just got up to the window and was very easily distracted. We're about 5 minutes into the session. Tracey had previously offered lemon to Tom and lime and other remedies when her kit arrived, and he was actually selecting quite a bit of lemon. We can see her other little dog here would very much like a session, but at this point I'm going to see via Tracey if Tom wants any thuja. Tracey is now about to take the lid off the thuja, and just watch what Tom does. He inhales it very slightly, and let's look at the reaction. Oh, but he's laying down. Fabulous. Yeah. That means that's key. When they lay down to an oil, number one. That's
really?
Huge. Yeah. So that is your key. That is a massive response. So that would now be on my number one of everything we've offered so far.
That's thuja, yeah.
Okay, so if you put...
He hasn't done that before.
Okay, so yeah, so if you put... That's perfect. Just keep it there. Keep it where it is. You can just stand it up on the carpet if you want.
He's mouthing now.
Huh?
He's mouthing as well.
Exactly. He's still mouthing. So he moved his head away. So he wanted a bit more dilute, but he's still working with it.
And he's still sniffing, and his eyes are blinking a little bit.
Yeah.
Do I need to move back so you can...
Yeah, that's perfect. That's good, actually, because I can see where the bottle is. He's out for the count now, isn't he?
Bored and gone to sleep.
No, because if he was bored, he would be looking out the window, looking for some attention. Also, if you don't touch him, only because when he goes into that state, he goes into he's in a healing mode at the moment. Okay. So when you sleep, that's when the body heals. Yeah. Like after you've had a massage too, you're in that lovely state.
Yeah.
But then if you touch him, it brings him out of that state and more into the conscious. So while everything has slowed down, which is what's happened, then the body will heal. So I always say to people, as least distractions as possible. Fine to touch him if he comes and says he wants a cuddle, but at this point, just like after you've had a massage, if you're touched, it brings you in the room, takes you out of that deep healing place. 5 minutes ago, he was jumping up on the sofa, barking out the window.
Yeah,
and the bergamot was the first start, where he got up on the sofa, he yawned, but then he was still, he was so active that I was going to say, let's let's wait till this afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
And within seconds, literally, of smelling the thuja, you had this. Tom remained curled up, asleep, for the remainder of the session, which lasted another half an hour. So you could see that just the smallest sniff had a huge effect. When Tracey received the kit, she offered him rose hips, spirulina and bodygrass. He was incredibly keen on the rose hips, so much so she wasn't sure if he was dosing himself correctly because he just kept on going. In this case, I said it may be a good idea to offer the rosehip shells because that's more of a concentrated application without using the vegetable oil. He also selected barleygrass and spirulina, and barleygrass was his second favourite and spirulina his third. During the first week, Tom wanted to work with the remedies twice a day. These remedies included thuja, bergamot, lemon, wild carrot seed, and bitter almond. Well, the nutrients, the rosehip powder, barleygrass, and spirulina, were selected daily. After the first week, Tom only wanted to work with the remedies once a day, and then that reduced to every other day from the third week. Tracey writes that Tom will ask me for the remedies, which is lovely. He will come and nudge me and wander to the door of the office storeroom where they're kept. Nutrients have become a bit more ad hoc, and when he needs them, he asks me by looking at the cupboard where they're stored. So the communication really deepened between Tracey and Tom. Tom's number one remedy was thuja, and he would take a lot more sniffs, a lot larger sniffs of this oil, mouthing and gulping, before drifting off into sleep. Tracey writes that sometimes when she takes a thuja bottle away, after he's drifted off, he will open his eyes and look at her as if saying, "Hey Mum, I haven't finished yet." So she will leave the thuja bottle beside him and he'll drift off into a deep sleep and eventually turn away when he's had enough. In Tracey's feedback, she writes that bergamot is Tom's number 2 remedy and that he often takes quite a lot of it, sniffing and gulping, while lemon is his number 3, which he takes a little bit now and then, but not as consistent or as long as the thuja or bergamot. Mainly just sniffs. Tom also selects a little wild carrot seed and occasionally bitter almond if he hasn't fallen asleep after the thuja. Interestingly, when he sniffs the wild carrot seed, he always does some grimming and then returns for a few more sniffs before turning away. Tom's results were pretty impressive. Tracey writes here that at the end of week 1, the colour of his epilis was a paler pink. Originally, they were a deep crimson colour before starting self-medication. She writes that at the end of week 1, she could see his teeth reappearing, which had been hidden by the epilis. Tracey continues to write, 5 weeks after we started working with the remedies, Tom's epilis are significantly smaller, probably half the size and much paler in colour. They don't dominate the side of his gums anymore, and I can see his teeth, and I can only presume his mouth feels much more comfortable. When Tom was about 2 years old, his bottom front teeth disappeared into his gum, but now we can see 3 little teeth re-emerging from his gums. I wish I'd had photos of before and after because the results are amazing. In addition to the extremely positive outcomes in terms of reducing the size of Tom's epilis and the emergence of teeth, Tom and I are really enjoying working together with the remedies. Our bond has strengthened in a unique way that I can only describe as we are talking the language of smell together, which has an added whole wonderful dimension to our relationship. Tom is quite a nervous dog, and working with the remedies has boosted his confidence because he very quickly worked out how to take the lead in his self-medication. His general demeanour is happier and calmer. We are absolutely amazed and delighted with the results, Caroline. But yeah, I mean, then coffee, you know, to some mornings to me it smells poisonous, and other mornings it's like nectar from the gods. But I was doing some reading on coffee, and it's actually helps with the microbiome. So, you know, so I suppose as we're all made differently, for some people, yeah, coffee might be therapeutic, and maybe somebody does need a stimulant, you know, just like basil is a stimulant, you know. So I think providing it's not got sugar and milk in, then you can taste and smell whether you need it. But it is quite instrumental in helping to help with the microbiome. So, and that's only in some people. You know, there's going to be other people where coffee's just not suited to them.
Yeah.
And it's usually those people who say, huh?
I drink black coffee, but I'll only have it on certain mornings.
Yeah.
Other mornings I would start the day with a peppermint tea. And again, it's my body sort of saying, I need a coffee this morning. I'm going to have a coffee.
Yeah. And sometimes you smell it and it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And other times it's like, oh God.
That's disgusting. Yeah.
So, you know, all these, they're all sort of medicines. Yeah. When people say you should never have something, I think, well, if you're not addicted to it, I don't agree with that, you know, because they are a medicine.
Yeah.
And it's just knowing what your body tells you and sort of what the magazine article tells you. You know, you can have that, you can't have that. That's good for you. Turmeric's good for you. Well, turmeric's good for some people, but not everyone, you know. So I think it's this, you know, blanket thing that people put out there in magazines. Yeah. This is a poison, this is a medicine. And, you know, it's all wrong, really, because it's whether they're all medicines and they're all poisons, depending. Yeah.
One thing I found so fascinating, Caroline, from your books is the adding supplements to food. Because there's a lot of people bang on, you must add all these different supplements to your dog's food. Now, Tilly has always been, in the past, when I've added stuff to her food, what have you added to my food? You know, she'll sniff it and she won't be happy about it. And then I read that in your books, and I've never added supplements to their food since. And I thought, that's exactly why, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we're thinking, or I was thinking at the time, oh, this is a good thing to give her all these supplements mixed in with her food. But she's probably sniffing it thinking, I don't need this, or this could be detrimental to me, maybe. But yeah, she's much happier not having
cost to you. There's a cost to you because you're having to buy it. There's also a cost to the animal because they've got to break it down and get rid of it.
All right. Yeah.